Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into, well, a really complex area,
Hmm.
cyber warfare, anonymity online, and the human side of digital activism.
Yeah, the human cost, which often gets overlooked.
Exactly. And our source material for this is this really compelling Twitter space. It was hosted by Alberto Daniel Hill. He's a cybersecurity pro from Uruguay.
Right. And he had some fascinating guests,
Yeah.
including anonymous hacktivists and also people who've really felt the consequences personally, on the digital front lines.
So our goal here is to pull out the key insights, the personal stories, what really drives these people operating in the shadows, and what's the real world impact.
And starting with the host, Alberto Daniel Hill, what really stands out is his constant push for transparency.
Hmm.
He kept saying that, credible discussion means standing by your words, being unmasked. He even encouraged people who'd been doxxed, had their private info dumped online to speak up.
Which is pretty bold, and he's lived it, hasn't he? His own story is, well, it's quite something.
It really is. He found a huge vulnerability, exposing, I think, 200,000 medical records in Uruguay. A critical find.
And he reported it responsibly, right? Like a white hat hacker would, trying to help fix the security issue.
Exactly. A white hat.
Uh-huh.
But instead of getting thanked, he was arrested, imprisoned.
Wow, just for reporting it.
Yeah. He described how it basically destroyed everything, his finances, mental health, physical, emotional, just devastating.
That seems incredibly counterproductive for security overall.
Totally. But then there's this really strange irony he pointed out.
Oh,
For some hackers, doing prison time can actually boost their market value in the cybersecurity world.
you're kidding. So getting caught makes you more employable.
In some circles, yeah. It's like this weird validation of their skills, maybe.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes about how messed up the system can be, right? Struggles with the nuances here.
It definitely highlights a huge disconnect, punishing the people trying to help.
Yeah.
It just pushes disclosure further underground, doesn't it? Makes everyone less safe.
Precisely. It deters others. So moving beyond Alberto's story, the space also featured voices right from the hacktivist front lines.
Right, like Spider. He called himself a hacktivist, active since way back in 2009. Quite a fearless attitude.
Very much so. He talked about operations against what he called corrupted structural governments. Places like Tunisia, Egypt, India, Russia, Iran.
And not just governments, right? He mentioned groups like the KKK, figures like Alex Jones, too.
Yeah. And his motivation, he kept stressing, was always for the people. He sees what he does as almost like military service, but using computers and code.
Military service.
Yeah.
That's a strong way to frame it.
Isn't it? And he gave this specific example. The DDoS attack on Alex Jones is distributed denial of service, basically flooding a server to knock it offline.
Okay.
He said he did it using just a $25 TIFF VPS server, a cheap virtual server. So not some state-sponsored thing, just him. The risk of arrest. For him, secondary to the mission.
That conviction is pretty intense. Using a DDoS, though, how does he justify that method? Isn't it just disruption?
From his perspective, it's about disrupting oppression, shining a light where maybe other methods have failed. And the low cost, like that $25 server, makes it accessible. Hard to stop.
Okay, so that's Spider's take. But there was another perspective, too, right? From Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter,
Yeah.
former active anonymous member, his view was much more introspective, maybe a bit cautionary.
How so?
Well, he talked about deciding to step down, but he also said anonymous isn't really a group you leave. It's more like an idea. Once it's got you, you can't fully disconnect.
An idea. Interesting. Did he talk about why he stepped back from being active?
He did, very candidly, actually.
Yeah.
Mentioned things like infighting, fake members just looking for clout,
Yeah.
stuff that pushed him away.
So internal struggles, not just external
Just
pressures.
exactly. And he's actually in therapy now. He described himself as sort of an orbiter still around, offering advice, but not on the front lines. It really highlights the psychological weight.
That's a really important point, the mental toll. It's not just about code and servers.
Absolutely not. And he also touched on practical things, like the language barrier in global hacktivism.
Yeah.
Before AI translation got good, the anonymous community had to manually translate and figure out data together. Real human collaboration.
Wow, that adds another layer of complexity. But even with the toll and the infighting, Dexter still believed in the core mission.
Oh, yeah. Unwavering belief in fighting oppression. That came through loud and clear. Both he and Spider, despite their different paths, show this incredible commitment, knowing the personal risks, legal, psychological, emotional.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really got into the human side of it all, the sacrifice, the strong beliefs, the fight for transparency and justice in this digital age.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it leaves you, the listener, with a question, I think. In our world, which is becoming more digital by the second, where do you draw that line between activism and cyber warfare?
Mm-hmm.
And what does real accountability even look like when actions online have such deep personal impacts in the real world? How do we balance transparency and anonymity?
A lot to think about there, definitely food for thought.